Well, I guess I'm here to talk to you about something very, very serious that will affect you in the next few years. As most of us know, at least in America, Donald Trump won the presidential election on November the 9th, 2016. I am the author of many books. My latest book that just came out, I have to tell you about, and I have to tell you why you're going to need to have this book. It's called Trump Won, Now the Aftermath. And there will be an aftermath now that he has won. The aftermath is this. There are two factions out there on the planet vying for world dominance over you. One is the progressives, not only in America, but across the world, progressives. And the other is Islam. Both are vying for world dominance. Let me go on, like I do in my book. You have no idea what a progressive is. You think you do. You think they're just liberal, left-wing Democrat people that are running for public office. You would be so far wrong. Progressives are the most dangerous people on the face of the planet, and they almost got away with getting Hillary Clinton elected as the president. And the progressives would have continued the other progressive, Obama's agenda. Wait till you read about what the agenda was. I'm going to highlight a few of these things for you right now. The progressives want to do away, well, so does Islam, but the progressives want to do away with your freedom. And they've been chipping away at it, as most of you know, because most of you have said to yourself, what is wrong with America? Everything that used to seem right is wrong. Everything, it seems like the world is upside down now. Where's the America that I grew up in? Where's the America that I knew? It's coming back. But there's going to be a big fight from these progressives and from Islam toward Donald Trump. Now, progressives, they want to do away with anything that has to do with God. You know it. You've seen it happen in the past 20 years or more. So they also want to abolish Christianity and Judaism. Why? That's in the book too. But you know it's true because you've seen attacks against Christians on TV. They make Christians look like they're stupid. They make men look like they're stupid, and husbands or fathers. They put everybody into little boxes. There are blacks. You saw it in this election. There are blacks. There are Latinos and Hispanics. There are white uneducated men. There are white educated men. Another box. There are white female educated people in America. There are white uneducated female population in America. There are Jews. There are this group. There are that group. Muslims. Everybody's in a box. They do that so that they can separate people into groups. That causes division, and that causes what's called bigotry, racism, and everything else. If you're in a box and the media has put you in a particular box, I'm in one, a white uneducated guy. Well, I must be pretty educated because I've made millions of dollars in my life as an uneducated white guy. I'm also in the class called senior citizens. I'm also in a class called a writer or an author. I don't mind being in that class. But these people, progressives, have tried to dismantle Christmas over the past 20 years. You know it. You feel it in your bones. And you get mad about it. But there is a method and a reason in their madness. It's not really madness. It's the agenda of world domination over you, progressives and Islam, and they're going to collude at some point in the future, which is what I cover in this book, and you need to have this book. Donald Trump says he's going to bring back Christmas to America, and he will. When people say Merry Christmas and stores have signs up, Merry Christmas, Trump points out How can that be inflammatory, or somebody's going to feel out of place because somebody says Merry Christmas, or they have a Christmas tree at on some properties, or in the school system, a Christmas tree. It's a holiday tree. Now, he's going to do away with all of that. That's what they're fighting. They've spent 20 or 30, actually since 1963, or even beyond with Woodrow Wilson, but trying to dismantle everything about America, including Christianity, including Judaism, freedom, the American flag, everything. You know it, and I know it, and I study it, and that's why I write books. Now, progressives absolutely hate America. They want us to become global or globalists instead of a sovereign nation of America. They've done this already in Europe, and you can see why Brexit happened, because that's called really Britain exiting from the euro. And Italy is now wanting to fight against this progressive agenda, where they're letting open borders, they're letting all kinds of Muslim extremists over the border, and Muslim extremists are out there killing us. Anybody who doesn't believe the way they believe is the infidel, the devil, Satan himself. You know it, I know it. My book covers that too. Now, they hate America. They want us to become global, to share our wealth with the rest of the nations of the earth, so that they can eventually become world dominating powers by sharing the wealth. That's why jobs have left. As Trump pointed out, 70,000 factories have closed. The progressives have been slowly, through NAFTA and other tools that they use, slowly getting rid of our jobs and putting them in other countries. You know it, I know it, we're mad about it, but we don't know why it's happening. My book points that out, which is why you need it. They have systematically destroyed our jobs and our companies in America. Why? I'll tell you why. They want as many people unemployed or underemployed and not gaining wages, which they haven't done in the past 18 to 20 years. There's a reason, there's a method in the madness of why they want people unemployed. And when you see 4.9% unemployment, it's a phony figure. Believe me, it's a phony figure. There are 93 million Americans out of work. That's about 34% that's really unemployed. But the media is not going to tell you that. And it's all part of this progressive agenda. They don't want you working, they want you underemployed, and they want you underpaid. And the reason is that the more and more people that they can put on Social Security, SSI, welfare, and so forth and so on, the more you are dependent on the government. And their eventual agenda leads all of us into this slave mentality. I call it a plantation mentality, where we're all in these little boxes and we're fighting each other because you're in that box, I'm in that box. No, Trump wants to make us united, one America. They're going to fight that. They don't want that to happen, and the book points out why. They love those who hate the American flag, like Colin Kaepernick. President Obama couldn't praise the guy enough. But I predicted in my on my Facebook page and my websites that Colin Kaepernick's activities months ago would lead to the NFL losing millions of dollars, and eventually they would kick him off the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers team. I'm just reading now, and I'll pass it on to you, that he's talking about not renewing his contract. What I think that really means, in between the lines, is that they're not going to renew his contract next season, and I'll predict now that he won't be working as a football guy next season anywhere, in any league, period. If that was Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, he would have benched the guy and just ate the contract. But I digress. Progressives, they're teaching, they're colluding with Islam. And let me point some facts out to you. If you don't believe me, just go on Google and Google this stuff. But the progressives are teaching young girls in public school systems like New York, Virginia, or Minnesota. They're teaching the young girls to wear hijabs. That's Islamic, the scarves and the whole burqa thing, if they could. Teaching them to wear them to school to appreciate and show the Muslim community that we appreciate their religion. It's subtle, man, but that's what their agenda is. They're trying to show their outright support for Muslims. You've seen it with President Obama, who grew up as a Muslim. He was taught in madrasas, which are Muslim schools. So when you see him sympathizing with Muslims, there's a reason for that. The guy is sympathetic toward Islam and Muslims. That's how he was trained. But progressives are also in that same boat. And they will collude with Islam, which is why you need the book. So they're teaching the young kids in school to wear Muslim garb to school for a Muslim Appreciation Day, while rejecting the notion that you and I both know, that is that Muslims are the ones that are out killing people in the world who disagree with Islam. It's Muslims that's killing people, not the Irish. Am I right? These progressives want open borders, so that immigrants can just flood into countries and nations, including America. And the ploy there is this. They bring the immigrants in from Syria. Doesn't make any difference. They don't care about you or your safety. Bring these people in. Then the Democrats, it's really, they hijacked the Democrat Party. So it's really the progressives and their legions of people go out there to the borders, and they invite these people in, put them in sanctuary cities, put them in special places where they can't be ejected from the country. They pay them welfare dollars to stay here. 78% of illegal immigrants are on welfare, just so you know. That's why you got to get the book. This stuff is in there. But they pay these people. They keep them depressed in these barrios and ghettos, these communities that are just poor, with public housing. They keep them depressed, they keep them suppressed, they keep them dependent on the welfare checks from the government so that they will always vote Democrat. It was a ploy, a plan, and if Hillary had won and they would have allowed 115,000 more illegal immigrants into the United States through an open border, and they would have been paying more of your tax dollars out in the form of welfare checks or SSI or food stamps and that type of stuff. These are things you have to know. Now, they indoctrinate them, then they make them vote Democrat. So they were building up a position in the Democrat Party, hijacked by progressives, where there would be no Republican or any other party in office for probably forever. They would have controlled the Supreme Court. That would have been devastating to you. Believe me, your freedoms, you think your freedom, your First Amendment right of free speech was in jeopardy before? If Hillary had won and put Supreme Court justices in, PC would be the rule of the day. And if you said anything that offended anybody, they'd throw you in jail. That's their goal, and I'll show you how they're going to do that in a few moments. So, worst of all, these progressives hate Christianity so much that eventually they would let Islamic clerics rule under Sharia law in the United States of America, as they are doing already in Europe and elsewhere. Now, even in the state of Minnesota, they've already allowed 3 years ago Sharia law to take effect. They also tried that down in, I think it's Austin, Texas recently, but the mayor, who's a woman, totally rejected it and said, don't even pull that crap here in Texas. So they move on to somewhere else. But in my book, it shows you why and how these Islamic people operate. And you think there are a bunch of Muslim out there who are just peaceful and, they're just, hardworking people. Let me tell you. Well, I won't tell you. But the book shows you that they are all complicit in this terrorism situation. And they're complicit because they do nothing about turning people in, like the San Bernardino bombers. Everybody knew they had bombs. The whole neighborhood knew it, but they shut up. So in my view, and in the book I printed, these people are complicit by not turning in these terrorists. Okay, I move on. I talk about Islam in my book and how they also want world dominance, which is why really ISIS was born, and it was really born way back in 1989. That's not in the book, but I'm just telling you because I study my brains out. By Osama bin Laden. And ever since then, he's been creating the 1993 World Trade Center attempted bombing. That guy's out in Denver, Colorado in prison. Ramzi Youssef was his name. See, it still works. But then Osama bin Laden was killed by Obama. You say, that's a progressive. Why would he kill him? Because it doesn't matter. If one Islamic leader drops dead, there's 100 to take his place. So that's insignificant. I digress again. But it all started with Osama bin Laden recently. That's why 9/11 happened. That's why ISIS happened. That's why terrorism is happening. Obama was complicit in that because he withdrew all the troops that George Bush put into Iraq. And as you already know from seeing it and hearing it on TV, but it's true, when you got a big hole and Obama says, hey, we're pulling the troops out December of 2011, you're just going to stand by and wait, and then you're going to get your, what they want to have is a Muslim society, an Islamic society run by a caliph or a one world leader is what it is. Now, progressives have also been teaching your children, let me repeat it, your kids and your grandkids in the public school systems and public colleges, they've been teaching them that socialism is the proper form of government. Progressives are worse than socialists, believe me, but if they could just get that through and passed and indoctrinated into what I call indoctrination centers, which are public schools and colleges, where the kids have learned socialism is the proper form of government. They proved that when most of the millennials voted for who? Bernie Sanders. Who is Bernie Sanders? The only socialist guy in the Senate from Vermont. And he had millions of these kids who are already brainwashed in college and public schools, because remember, if you don't comply with the thoughts that 21 out of 22 professors are progressives, by the way, just so you know, and one conservative. So you got 97% of the professors or teachers in school systems and public colleges teaching your kids, this is the way thou shalt go. And if thou departest from the way we teach, we will fail you in your grades. So the kids are under tremendous pressure. We've lost that entire generation. And with Trump in office, and when Trump does everything he says he's going to do, which he will, then we have a shot at having America, or keeping America, the America that you and I know and love, and we miss. It was gone for 20 years. It's back. But you have to know it's only back temporarily. Now, what you should do, I'm recommending, is just go on Amazon.com and type in, under books, Trump won, now the aftermath. They will lead you right to the book site, and they will ask you to pay $9.95. It's nothing. It's 5 cups of coffee. And you're done. So for the next 5 weeks, just eliminate 1 cup of coffee a day and have coffee the rest of the week. but save it up if you have to, whatever, and put it on a credit card, $9.95, because you have to know what's coming down the turnpike. I'm sitting here telling you, this is not fun. It's not fun for me. I know too much. And I don't want to scare you, but if you don't know what I know, then you are in jeopardy of losing the America that we love, because the progressives and Islam are both fighting. They're going to fight Donald Trump every step of the way. Things in my book point out that they're trying to prevent him from even getting into the White House on January the 20th. I already wrote this in the book, and I see this stuff unfolding daily in the news. The Democrats, I hate saying Democrats, the progressives are rejecting vote counts in several states, trying to get the Electoral College to not vote Trump in. So that's one thing. They're doing already riots paid by George Soros. I cover him in my book. You need to know who this guy is. I think he's 86 years old. Maybe he'll be dead one of these fine days, and we don't have to worry about him paying money to sponsor rioters to riot against basically anything. He loves to disrupt our country. You need to know about him. But they're trying to prevent Trump from getting into the White House, and the media barrage that's coming and that you see on a daily basis, it's for a reason. The progressives lost their ability to keep their agenda alive. Obama calls it his legacy. No, it's an agenda for world dominance, and you need to know about what they're doing. So they're trying to prevent him from even gaining access to the White House. But assuming they lose that, they're causing riots in the street, you've seen it, protests, mostly by millennials who are mush-brained kids that they've already indoctrinated, and the media barrage that is anti-Trump didn't stop with the election. They want to get their power back. This is why on a daily basis you will see CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, New York Times especially, Washington Post, all of these media outlets are twisting everything that Trump says or does, or any candidate that he puts in his cabinet. They're twisting it. They're trying to make it look like he's not qualified to be your president, even though he has won the election by so many votes. Now, my book also predicted, and my websites predicted months ago, that Donald Trump would win at least 286 electoral votes, up to 345. The media, they missed it. I didn't miss it. Why? Because I study and I want you to know what I know, like I said. Why did the media miss it? It's in the book. All the polls were wrong. How could this be? They had Hillary Clinton winning the election by, I think it was 322 electoral votes. She lost. She was down in the 220 range. How did they possibly miss it? That was part of their scheme. I write about that in the book. You need to know. Trump, he's going to fix a lot of things. My book points out all of the things that the progressives plan to do to thwart every move he makes, every word he says, like I say, every person that he puts on his cabinet or on his team. It's all bad, and here's why. That's what you're going to hear. I want to prepare you for the future. That's why I wrote this book and finished it like a week ago. Now, he's going to fix a lot of things. He's going to bring Merry Christmas back to America. That's a plus. Progressives hate it. He's going to bring the sanctity of our American flag and our national anthem back to America. He's going to bring jobs back here to America that the progressives have decimated. They put them anywhere overseas to deflate our ability to be self-sufficient. They want us to be dependent on the government. You got to know what they're up to, and you don't. So buy that book. Now, Trump is going to create a brand new Supreme Court to protect your Constitution, your First Amendment of the freedom to be able to speak like I'm doing right now. That wouldn't have lasted if Hillary had gotten in, believe me. You don't know what you narrowly missed suffering under. You have no idea. My book will point out why Trump actually made it in. And I believe with all my heart, soul, and life that the good Lord heard your prayers and mine and the prayers of all the churches across America under 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people would humble themselves and pray and ask for forgiveness and pray about this election, basically, is what we did. And the Bible says in, I think it's Daniel 2:21, you can look it up, but it says God puts kings into place and takes kings out of place, all for his plan and purpose. So I believe that's what happened. But I also believe and know, reading the rest of the Bible that I do, several of my books are Bible-based anyway, but there's a pretty bleak future coming, and it involves Islam, the dominant religion of the planet. It involves Israel. It involves the top of Mount Zion, where Israel will be building a temple, but they have to do a lot of things to kick the Arabs out of Israel and off Mount Zion. That's all in the book, so I'm not going to bother with it right now. So, buy the book. It demonstrates all kinds of stuff, but it also predicts that the progressives are not about to let Trump off the hook. They're not about to stop their world agenda of controlling the population. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to know what's going on. Hate to spend so much time here self-promoting a book, but you know, it's important that you know what I know at this stage in your life. Whether you're on another continent, it makes no difference, because what we do here in America and with Donald Trump is going to affect everybody across the planet. And so is Islam. So buy the book. Amazon.com, type in Trump won, now the aftermath. It'll take you right to the book, $9.95. One click. You download it, by the way, onto your Kindle, if you have a Kindle reader. Even if you don't, what I did is it says, would you like a free Kindle reader on your PC? And I said, sure. So I have a Kindle reader, and I told it for $9.95, I test my own stuff out, download it onto my Kindle on my PC. So I hit Kindle, hit the book, and there it is, page 1, 2, 3, all the way through 90-something pages in the Kindle format, along with full color pictures. All right, thank you very much. I hope you buy the book. I hope you invest $9.95 instead of the coffee thing, or, you know, a half a tank of gas. $9.95, folks. That's it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.